Today I'm going to tell you about our top 10 favorite family ski resorts near Zurich. I'm Tanya from Swiss Family Fun, and our family has lived in Zurich, Switzerland since 2005, and I have two boys, so we've been skiing with them a lot and snowboarding. Now they snowboard since they were just learning as toddlers until now that they're tweens and teens. So I've got a lot of information to share. I have everything that I'm going to talk about on the video on our website, so I have a post listing all the resorts and have links to the details and videos for each of the individual resorts, but I'm going to do an overview here because sometimes it's more fun to watch it on a video. So I've picked each of these resorts because they have specific features that are great for families. So just for an example, one thing that was really important when the kids were little is that we could drive right up to the resort without having to take a cable car to get to the beginners area, because often the parent isn't skiing, so it's kind of a waste of money to have to pay for a ski ticket for myself just to get to where I'm going to be standing around with the kids. And then also I found myself going back and forth to the car because maybe one was cold or too hot, or they needed some of their equipment, or one was skiing and one decided to quit for the day and we wanted to go hang out in the car. So it just gave us a lot more flexibility, and not all the resorts are like that, but I'll point it out as we go through the list, some of the things that made it much easier with kids. Some of them have fun parks that were easier, some of them are really affordable or have family discounts. Anyway, there are a ton of options that are near Zurich, between about 45 minutes to an hour and a half drive, also accessible by public transportation. Anyway, so if you like what you see here, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel so you can see more content like this. And now let's get to our list. Number one on my list is Flumesberg in eastern Switzerland. And I put this at the top of the list because it's the most popular. Everyone knows the resort, and some people complain because it can get quite crowded. But one thing we loved about Flumesberg, especially when our kids were little, is that you can drive all the way up to the resort park, and it's just a short walk over to what they call the snow garden, where they have the magic carpets. And they have ones that are for the ski school and then ones that are free that you can just use. So when my older son was already skiing and I could take my 2- and 3-year-old, we could just sled, we could go just try out with the skis on the magic carpet. It didn't cost anything, and it just made it so convenient for the family. Also, they have the International Ski School there. I think it's called the Zurich International Ski School, and they do ski lessons there on Saturdays and Sundays during January, and they do them in English. So this is super popular. Tons of the English-speaking expats will be doing these lessons. We've done them for many, many years, and the ski instructors are excellent, and we find Flumesberg in general a nice place to learn how to ski. I mean, all the ski resorts have ski schools, so I'm sure other ones are good as well, but we've just had a really good experience there. And then while the kids are in ski school, then once they were old enough and I didn't have to check on them and they were having problems, my husband and I would then get to go on the advanced runs and the back bowls and do all the powder runs and have a great time. So it's a medium-sized resort, but big enough that there's enough variety for you to really enjoy for multiple visits during the season. Number 2 on my list is Elm, and this is also in eastern Switzerland. This is our family favorite for years. Once we found this resort, this is really our go-to resort. We like it because it's more of a locals only place. It doesn't get that crowded, even on a sunny day. I mean, it might be a little crowded in the morning as everyone's kind of rushing to get on the slopes, but it very quickly thins out, and I've never felt that crush like I do at other resorts. The pistes are really wide open, so there's tons of room, which is so important when you have kids, because you get these people that are speeding down the mountain and like to go very close to your kids. It's really annoying to me. But here there's so much room, so it's easy for your kids to stay out of the way, especially when they got to make their turns. Another thing that we really like is that my husband and I snowboard, well, now the whole family snowboards, but there's a lot of nice rolling off-piste areas that are right next to the groomed piste, which made it really fun for us to have something that's more interesting as adults while the kids were still learning on the groomed piste, and we were right next to each other. And yeah, we just love it. It's super affordable. One thing we really like about it is that they have a 4-kilometer sled run. So you take a gondola to get up to the resort, and from there they have the sled run back down to the parking lot. And so if you have non-skiers, this is great. They can spend the whole day there. Or what we do often is that the last run of the day, one of the parents takes all the gear down in the gondola and the rest of the crew takes the sled run down to the bottom. So it's just kind of an extra little fun thing to do at the end of the day. Another thing I like is their beginner area is enclosed and it has 2 magic carpets at different steepness, which is nice because I think it's really hard sometimes to graduate from that tiny little bunny hill, and just where it's only a few meters, to a T-bar where you're going down a proper slope. So this gives you a little more to try out, a little more steepness within the beginner area before you graduate to the T-bar. So Elm, love it. We go there all the time. Yeah, definitely a family favorite. Number 3 on my list is Bruni Alto. Now don't get this confused with Bruni Engelberg, because I've had some friends and some people on the blog go to the wrong place. Not that Engelberg is not good, it's also nice, but the one I'm recommending is very close to Zurich. It's about a 40-45 minute drive, also easy by the train and the bus. And so Bruni Alto, what we really like is it has a longer magic carpet that has about a 300, maybe 350 meter run that goes off both sides. So on one side of the magic carpet is for the skiers, and on the other side is for sledders. So this is fantastic if you have kids that aren't skiing yet and you need to be, as parents, kind of managing both kids. And then once they get off the magic carpet, right next door is a T-bar that's pretty short and it's good for that next level. And then across the street, there's a much longer T-bar if you have more intermediate skiers. So, I mean, it's not my favorite place to ski, but it's a great place to teach kids how to ski. And it's also close enough that we would go there for maybe a half day, or we could go on Wednesday afternoons. So you can get in 2 or 3 hours of skiing, and then my kids would be done after that when they were so young. One disadvantage is that it is at a lower elevation, so in early season it's usually not open, but when it is, it's a great place. It can get super crowded and the parking lot can get crowded, so I recommend going there either early in the morning, so getting there before 9, or after lunch. I found that when we went after lunch, people were already leaving, and then we could get a parking place quite close, and then my kids were only good for 2 or 3 hours, so it was fine. So Bruni Alto, great for beginners. Try it out. Number 4 on my list is Topten, and this is in central Switzerland, about a 40-minute drive from Zurich, and this is along the same lines of Bruni Alto. Also, really it's for the first time your kids get on ski, because they're just one tiny hill. It has a little disc drag lift, and it's super cheap. It's, I think, 9 francs for the kids to be able to use this lift. So this would be a great, and also you can park right next to the lift. So this is great the first time your kids get on skis, or the first few times you just want to go practice for an hour and you don't want to make a huge commitment or pay a lot of money. There's a normal sledding hill, not a long sled run, but just like old school hill that's nice and wide and long, where you can just sled up and down and walk back up the hill. Well, you're not going to sled up and down, you're going to sled down and walk back up. But this is also good if you have kids of different ages, some that are skiing and some that aren't. We go there just for sledding when it has snowed, but the snow's all melted in Zurich. We'll just go out there for a sled day. There's also a playground there that you can use in winter, and a restaurant. And there's nice walking trails around there. So it's not a big resort, but it's a great place for locals. So number 5 on my list is Stoß, and this is in central Switzerland. It's about a 45-minute drive from Zurich, so super convenient, super close. I've gone there as during the week when my kids were in school, so I had my husband get the kids off to school. I rushed out there and did a full day of skiing and got back before they came home from school at about 3:30. So close enough for that, and I feel a little guilty for doing that, but it was a great snow day. I had to go. Stoß has really grown on me. The main change is that now they have a new funicular that's going more into the center of the village, directly where the ski lifts take off, because in the old days the funicular was way off on the side of the village. You had to walk all the way through the village with all of your gear, and it was super annoying. But now that's not the case. It's much more conveniently located. It's also the steepest in Europe, maybe in the world, and that's an exciting ride, even if you're not skiing in summertime, anytime. And then if you go to the top of the lifts there, you have this amazing view across the lakes and lots of other mountains that you can see from there. It's spectacular. It's one of my favorite hikes in summer along the ridge, and I'll link to that video as well, because you should absolutely do that ridge hike if you're here in Zurich or in Switzerland in summertime. But anyway, let's get back to skiing. So I like Stows. The beginners area, we were there with a big group last year and they had a lot of little kids. And so there's a magic carpet that's in the middle of the village that has a tiny little bunny hill. And then they have practice hills that have some T-bars that are steeper. I've heard from a couple of people that don't really like it for beginners, but I think it's pretty good compared to some of the others that I've seen. Now I went there, the first time I went there, my youngest I think was 6, and he was, you know, not a confident skier, but getting there. And we had a pretty good time on so the resort is divided into, there's the Frontalpstock side and the Klingenstock side. The Frontalpstock is more blue and red runs, and that's where I was with my son. And sometimes I felt like he was a little nervous, but they're very wide, which makes it very easy for you to do your turns. And the other side, the Klingenstock side, is much more advanced and has some off-piste area and a little fun park over there. So that's more where my older son likes to go with his friends. But overall, I like Stows and it's super close. So I would definitely check it out if you're not familiar with it and see what you think about it. But yeah, I mean, I will definitely go to Stows once or twice every season. Like it. One of the things I forgot to mention is that Stows has this very affordable family pass. So I think it's 126 francs for 2 adults and all their kids up until 15. So that is a huge reason to go to Stows. So affordable, and I really appreciate that Switzerland does this. Number 6 on my list is Pietzoll, which is in eastern Switzerland, and this is another family favorite. They also have a family pass here. I think it's 151 for 2 adults and all their kids up until 16. So again, super affordable. One thing I love about Stows is that it is directly off the freeway. So if there has been a lot of snow, you don't have to drive on any country roads or mountain roads to get to the resort. You take the freeway directly from Zurich, take the exit, and it's just a short little, maybe not even 5 minutes, staying in the valley over to the cable car that will take you up to the resort. So that, for the driving aspect, is fantastic. It's also accessible by train, and then it's a short bus ride. We happened to go to Pietzoll for the first time on an amazing powder day, so we completely fell in love with it on that day and then went back, I think, 2 more times that season, and it has continued to be a favorite. It has really wide open piste on the top, and we like that the off-piste areas, which are not dangerous at all, were really accessible for our kids and for anyone who's kind of dabbling into off-piste. They haven't done that much, and then they can very easily skip back out to the groom runs. We now have our favorite areas. We've explored all over the off-piste area, and it's just, I mean, I'm dreaming of it right now. I can't wait till the next snow because I'm going straight to Pietzoll. They have places that are good for beginners. They have a nice ski school area with the T-bar and a little snow garden, and they have a little race course, which the kids like. I mean, it's more designed for kids. That I'm trying to remember, last year they have these little like cartoon characters with these big hands, and so as you go through the course, you give the hand a big high five as you go by, and then it makes a little noise or swirls around. So the kids really liked that last year. You know, the views are fantastic. It's a smaller resort and more of locals only, so it doesn't get that crowded. I mean, even though it's small, there might be a crush of people at the beginning of the day, but it spreads out really quickly. And yeah, I love Pietzoll. You should check it out. Number 7 on my list is Hooky Break, and this is also very close to Zurich. So it's about 45-minute drive there. You do have to go in some country lanes, but it's not high up in the mountains. So again, on a bad weather day, I don't mind driving there. You take a gondola to get up to the resort. Now, I don't like Hooky Break for absolute beginners. I mean, they do have a little bunny hill with a magic carpet, or it might have a tow rope. I think a magic carpet for the absolute beginners. But then there's a wide gap between that and graduating to the blue run. I felt like the blue run there was quite steep. I went with my son. He was either 5 or 6 and not a confident skier at that point. And I was kind of terrified for him to go down from the top down this blue run. I mean, I was like, is this blue? And at one point he completely lost control and couldn't stop with his snowplow, and he just barreled down the hill, and I couldn't catch up and then had a horrible fall. So anyway, I don't want to say don't go there. I'm just saying it's a little steeper. So I would go when your kids are more advanced beginners and more confident and can make turns and really stop themselves with the snowplow. One thing that my kids really like is they do have this little race course where you go a bunch of turns, and it's at the end of the run. So we'll have a nice run at the top, and then we always go through the speed course at the end. We like that. I like it also for powder days because it has lots of nice off-piste areas right next to the groomed run. So it, the kids, well, now my kids are older and they can do that with us, but when they were younger, we could be right next to each other and having kind of different levels of difficulty, even though we're right next to each other. The views are spectacular. It's up on the ridge, so again, you're getting lake and mountain views for miles. I love this resort, but honestly, we don't go there as much as we used to because now we've discovered Pietzel, which has kind of replaced it. But I still like Hooky Break, and I'm going to definitely make the effort to go there once this season. At number 8, I have Amden Arvenbuhl, and this is again for beginners. So when my kids were very little, one problem I had is that I had one kid that wasn't skiing yet, and I had one kid that was 6 and was starting to be very confident in skiing. I mean, not amazing, but wanted to, go down the run kind of by himself, and I couldn't really manage both kids. And sometimes I was going by myself, and my husband wasn't skiing with my son, so I just didn't know what to do when I wanted to get out in the mountains. So this was a great solution because on the same chairlift, I think it's about 500 meters. It's a pretty short run, but they can ski and sled on the same piste. I mean, the sledding part has its own little section, but they're basically on the same piste. So we could go as a family and be together, which I think is nice because I think it's always sad when everyone's very separated, especially these large resorts where you're really on totally different mountains and it's very difficult to meet up together at any point in the day, even for lunch. So here we were just always on the same piste. We could even be riding the lifts together. It was it's at lower elevation, so sometimes they don't have amazing snow. One time we were there and it was really just snow on the piste and mud and grass just on the sides of it. So I wouldn't expect amazing skiing, but for this really special circumstances where you have non-skiers and skiers together, it's a nice solution. It can also get quite crowded there. I mean, it is a locals only, but because it's so small and you do have to go up this mountain road to get there, it can get really crowded. So one time we went a little later in the day, well, I'm gonna say later, like 10:30, and it was a sunny day, good snow, and we couldn't even drive up the mountain. They were stopping people and having you park in the valley and then putting you on a bus shuttle to take you up the rest of the way. And I was totally surprised because it's such a small place. I thought, who's gonna even go here? But so just because it's small, don't expect that no one's ever gonna go there. On a sunny day when there's good snow, everyone's gonna go. Number 9 on my list is Kaiserburg, and you might know this better as Toggenburg in the eastern part of Switzerland. This is where the Toggenburg Tone Trail is. This is this musical trail in summer that has a bunch of different musical installations along the trail, so that's very popular for that. But for some reason it has a different name for the ski resort, which is called Kaiserburg. This is the mountain that is the highest part of that resort. It's actually joined 3 small resorts together, and we were mostly in the middle part, which is from Iltios up to Kaiserburg. And this has the more advanced runs. I mean, not more advanced, it's blue, red, and black runs. So a lot of variety right there in the middle. And the views from the top are amazing. I'll show a picture here of what it's like in summer as well. There's a gorgeous trail. It's the flower trail up on this plateau. And at winter, I mean, it's amazing. You're looking just over the cliffs, straight down to these lakes, and then all the mountains around. Love it. So even if you're not skiing, I would go to the top, have a meal, lay in the sunbeds, and just enjoy the view. But skiing, there's really an interesting experience because you start up on this plateau, and when I was hiking there, I was like, how are they even going to get down from this huge, really high plateau down to the other part of the resort? But it's very cleverly designed, and it was fun to be skiing on piste that we had hiked previously. They have a ski school at each one of the 3 areas. When we were there, our friends had brought their 4-year-old and did a drop-in ski school at their little ski garden, and they really liked that. So I think this is a good place if you have beginners as well and skiers of different abilities. Another one of my friends went to the Wildhaus side, and there they have T-bars with red runs and blue runs. So if you have maybe older kids that want to ski by themselves, and then you have little kids that need to be at the practice area, since they all come together at the same hub, this is a nice place where the parents can kind of see their kids coming down by themselves on the T-bars and also manage smaller kids. So it has a lot of variety, and last year was our first year that we skied there, and we're like, wow, why haven't we been coming here? We love this resort, so it's definitely going to be in our regular rotation. The one downside for me is that you do have to drive quite far there on a country road. So you take the freeway about half the way there, and then the other half of the way, maybe 30-40 minutes, is on these 2-lane country roads. So I don't love that. I get a little tired especially after a long ski day, and driving that road, not my favorite. But you can take the train and then a bus there, which I've done before for hiking, and it's conveniently located that way. So yeah, try it out. Hope you like it. Number 10 on my list is Mount Rigi. Now, this is not my favorite place to ski. It's a pretty small one with a couple T-bars, but I was really surprised how much we enjoyed it. The main reason I'm recommending it here is this is a great place if you have people that you need a variety of activities, so not everyone's skiing. So when we were there, we were doing kind of a weekend with a bunch of people. We had rented a big house and everyone was staying there. And so we had people that had babies that we were carrying, and we had lots of little kids. We had older kids that wanted to do their own thing. We had old people that weren't skiing that wanted to do walking. So we needed something that would address all of these different activities that people wanted to do. So at Rigi, they have 2 long sled runs. They have lots of winter walking trails. While we were there, my kids and my husband went snowboarding, and I was surprised they had a great time, even though it's very small. And then I went snowshoeing with my dad and my friend, and the snowshoeing trail was gorgeous. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. And it was fun to explore the mountain and just kind of go all over the place with our snowshoes. And while we were staying overnight there, I did a midnight moonlit walk with my snowshoes, and it was one of the most amazing experiences ever. So I don't know, it's very close to Zurich. It's super easy by train to get there. It's very affordable, and yeah, it has a lot of variety. So, and it's not gonna get that crowded because it's not really a main destination for skiing, but if you need that variety, it's a good choice. Now, everything I've been mentioning so far are kind of either small bunny hills, local resorts, or small to medium-sized resorts. Now, there are huge, big, multi-mountain resorts that are also within a day trip distance of Zurich, but I don't really recommend those for families especially when you're first starting out, because I find, especially with beginners, you're not going to use the whole resort. So it just doesn't make sense to pay for the whole resort when you're just going to stay on one little run or just a few runs. And even now that my kids are really good and can ski anywhere, they tend to like their same runs where they know it and they're doing the jumps that they like. And I just don't want to waste a bunch of money on a huge resort when I'm just going to stay in one part of the resort. We usually will try 1 or 2 of those big resorts per season just for fun and to mix it up. And if you're booking a holiday, then definitely I would go to one of the bigger resorts. So what I'm talking about are like Klosters Davos. We went there last year. Fantastic. It was exciting. It's so big. You can't even possibly ski the whole resort in one day, but would be wonderful for 1 or 2 weeks because there's so much to explore. And we love the piece there. I would love to go. It's totally doable as a day trip, both by train. I think by train it's under 2 hours to get there, and by car about an hour and a half. So yeah, absolutely doable. Flumesberg is also really popular. Lenzer Heide, these are all day trip distances, but they're also all much more expensive. So we're talking about 80 francs maybe for the day, up to I think 89 at Laux. You can get cheaper prices if you buy online beforehand. So a lot of them will do dynamic pricing. But yeah, I would just save those for when your kids are older and maybe when you're doing a week-long holiday. Now, one that did not make my list is Sattel Hochstückli, and I know lots of people love it. A lot of my friends have season passes there because it's pretty inexpensive, and they'll do their ski lessons there. I don't like it for a couple reasons. One, they do have a nice snow garden at the top for absolute beginners with magic carpet, but you have to pay to take the gondola to get up there. And I was just like, I'm not skiing. Why do I have to pay to get up here? And I'd much rather go to Flumesberg where I can just drive right there and use it for free if they're just doing the magic carpet. And then if you're actually skiing, they just have 2 drag lifts. And I hate drag lifts. I just find them exhausting. With little kids, it's so annoying because a T-bar hits you, it has to be under the kid's bottom, but for you, it hits you right at the knees. So I just don't like it. My husband and son did the sled run there and felt like they were gonna die. So I don't know, I'm sure there's someone else that has a different opinion, and I know friends that just love that place, especially because it's so close, especially if you're living in central Switzerland. But for me, there's so many other places that I'd rather go. So sorry, not sorry. But I do love hiking there, and in summer we like it as well. So I hope you found some good ideas here for family skiing in Switzerland, particularly near Zurich. I will link to everything I mentioned here below. So I have one post that has this full list and links to all the detailed posts for all these individual resorts. I also have a lot of other posts like where you can rent your your ski gear, what gear you need. So if you're a beginning skier and you don't even know do I need a helmet? Like what kind of helmet? All those questions are answered in those posts, and yeah, got lots of winter posts and lots of recommendations for even lots of other ski resorts that I didn't mention here. So please give our video a like, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any more upcoming helpful information for families here in Switzerland, and we'll see you here next time.